Hey everyone, today I wanted to go over something really important that I think a lot of people need to be paying attention to, and that is the fact that Capcom wants to hear from you right after the digital presentation that we had, where they went ahead and showcased a lot of brand new features making their way into the third free title update, as they certainly want to hear player feedback not just on the presentation itself, but as for things that they wish to improve upon and what players want there to be changes about. This is something that has kind of been a continual rollout, if you will. A few months back, I reported that Capcom was willing to take feedback on Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak right after it originally launched, and they wanted to hear feedback on some of the changes players wanted to see, some of the brand new additions, and presumably some of the free title update changes and brand new quality of life improvements that have been making their way into the game in the most recent free title updates, and of course the one that we are going to get in a few days, are all because of those original responses where players essentially provided Capcom with some feedback. This time around, they're requesting your feedback once again, and they want to hear not only on the details regarding the presentation, but of course, just some of the brand new changes that you wish to see. A lot of the big discussion topics, and perhaps the most negative one we have seen, is once again layered weapons options. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit in this video later on. But first and foremost, it took to social media to simply say that is a wrap on today's Monster Hunter Rise digital event. What did you think? If you have a moment, please share your thoughts and feedback with the survey below. I'm going to be leaving a link in the description below for the official link to the survey, but also the official tweet as well, so you don't think this is like my own personal poll or anything like that. They basically are asking very basic introductory questions right out of the gate. How old are you? How do you identify? What country do you live in? How do you hear about the survey? How much time do you spend playing the game? Little basic things like that. But you eventually make your way down to a couple of questions. This is not a relatively long survey. You're probably going to take 4 to 5 minutes filling it out. It's not going to be relatively too long. And eventually you're going to get to one of the questions that says, how would you rate your interest in the following digital events contents? For example, if you want to talk about how happy you are with some of the monsters that they decided to introduce, stuffed monster series layered weapons, not interested, very interested, moderately interested, considerably interested. Obviously you can let them know that if you don't want any more layered weapons, not interested is most likely going to be the option. You are going to want to provide them to there. They ask you if you want to write in up a 2,000 letter option for like any sort of information, your feedback, anything you wish to write in, or any of the actual changes you wish to see them going into the future. How interested would you be watching a future digital event in the future as well? And specifically they ask about the layered weapons options. They know this is a divisive thing that they have been doing. They understand the people's feedback, and ultimately is your voice. Capcom is not going to be reading Twitter posts or Twitter replies to their very own tweets for that matter, or even the comments in this very video, although I encourage you to let me know what you guys think. Ultimately, if you rant about it on, let's say, Reddit or Discord or Twitter, that's not really going to get Capcom's attention. This is the way to get Capcom's attention. If you want them to stop the paid DLC stuff, if you want them to provide us with brand new armors, stop the fire monsters, which is something that I literally the first thing that I wrote in what did you like the most or what did you least like about the digital presentation. It's just the continual addition of fire monsters. Certainly you could let them know. And of course, most people are going to be talking about the paid weapon options, the paid DLC layered options. Now, once again, I did notice that a couple of people were pointing out that the actual North American trailer, so you should be seeing the little trailer clip right there on the screen right now. That specific trailer in the English version of it, Capcom took it down as of the time of this recording. I don't know if they're going to put it back up probably by the time this video goes up in a few days or whatever, but I'm not necessarily sure. It seems like the Western trailer got taken down because of just so many dislikes, and the Japanese one, as of the time of this recording, was still up, but I'm not sure if by this point in time they also went ahead and took it down. It seems like the comments themselves were relatively accepting of the armors, of the layer weapon options, but the actual, like, you know, upvotes, downvotes type of thing, it was like way too negative, so they just decided to pull it all together and not deal with the headache. I guess it messes with the algorithm or something like that. So, you know, it seems like Capcom was just not necessarily too happy with the way people were reacting to the actual layered weapon options. I think something that has been completely overlooked, and one of the things that, of course, people who didn't necessarily play Monster Hunter Frontiers, Frontiers G, or Frontier Z, they didn't necessarily know is that these plushie type layered weapon options have been around since that game back in like 2010, 2012, 2014, 2016, even 2018, I believe was ultimately shut down. That game originally had like plushie monster options available. There are actual real life plushie versions of these, like some of these monsters. Not these specifically, this is a brand new batch of monsters that they're showcasing. Of course, these are the Rise and Sunbreak monsters. But like these type of plushie monsters have already kind of been existing. Like that Zenogre one, there's like a plushie version of that monster already. So Capcom's kind of been like doing that for quite a while. I believe the Frontiers G version of the plushies had a couple of monsters that had like were originally introduced. Some of them were free DLC, others ended up being paid DLC afterwards as well. So that's kind of been a thing that they've been doing for a while. Now, it doesn't necessarily excuse it for those who are like looking to be angry and saying that I'm going to make excuses for it. I'm not buying any of these layer weapons options. I already have the one that I'm using, the Lost Code one. I actually enjoyed it. I grew accustomed to it, so I like it. I don't necessarily like any of the light bowgun weapons, or even the heavy bowgun weapons. I'm not a big fan of them, but I do like the Lost Code's look of it. So, you know, I'm kind of used to it already. So I'm not going to be buying no Kezu plushie weapon or anything like that. I don't really need that. But, you know, I understand why people are upset about it. I understand why some people see this as a slippery slope. They see this as an option for, obviously, the next mainline game, whether that is Monster Hunter Paradise, which, of course, I talked about in the most recent amount of leaks that came out. A couple of people were asking me if that was like the original leaks from like 6 months ago, when they're not. I clearly made that point clear in the video, but some people, I guess, didn't necessarily catch to that they were like some brand new leaks specifically mentioned for that Paradise or Monster Hunter World 2 or Monster Hunter 6, whatever that game will ultimately end up getting called. People think that the slippery slope of paid DLC weapons will ultimately lead to, of course, you know, paying for decorations, paying for better RNG rolls on, let's say, Curious Crafting and stuff like that. We don't necessarily know. Obviously, Capcom will be the only ones to know. If they turn the game into free-to-play, which is something that has been a concern, especially after the reveal of the upcoming brand new mobile game, then maybe, yes, I can certainly see people being upset. If they make the game free-to-play, then forget it. The franchise is changing completely. It's never going to be originally what it was on the 3DS and the PSP, or even the Switch versions, or even World. It's just going to be a completely different thing. But until that happens, you know, probably just don't panic. Don't act like the world is ending just because they're adding free DLC options or paid DLC options as well. You know, some people have said if they were still giving us better free DLC options, the paid DLC options wouldn't necessarily be that egregious. And I completely agree with that point. If the free DLC weapon options that they actually ended up providing us with, if any, were any good, then I would be happy with that. And I wouldn't necessarily be too upset with paid DLC options. But because they are not giving us any right now, people see this as a step in the wrong direction, and I can certainly understand it. So, you know, hopefully you guys can fill out the survey, certainly provide them some feedback, let them know what you want and what you don't want in the game. This is the only way they're going to listen to you. Ranting on Twitter, ranting on Reddit, ranting on social media doesn't get anywhere. That's really a worthless endeavor. It's about letting the companies know what it is that you want, and that is the best way to approach these type of matters. So once again, link in the description below, check them out and let them know, and hopefully changes will be coming for the better. If you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up, and as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.